Do you know why some souls are born to suffer more than others? Not in a normal way. Not in the way everyone suffers from life's random chaos. I'm talking about the ones who feel like life has been hunting them, watching them, breaking them down in ways that other people never seem to understand. Carl Jung believed that some people are forced into awakening. Not gently, but violently. Not through comfort, but through collapse. He believed that the psyche has its own intention, its own direction, its own dark wisdom. And when the soul is meant for more, life does not allow it to stay small. So some people are chosen. Not chosen in a beautiful, romantic way. Chosen in a dangerous way. Chosen to carry more pain, more depth, more consciousness than others. Chosen to walk a path most people would never survive. And if you're still here, listening, you probably already know you're one of them. Think about your life for a moment. How many times have you broken, only to rise again? How many times have you felt like you were standing on the very edge of yourself, one step away from disappearing, and yet somehow, something inside you refused to fall? Most people never reach that edge. Most people never question the story they were given. Most people never ask why they feel empty, why they feel restless, why they are haunted by a life that looks fine on the surface. But you did. And that was the first sign that your vibration was changing. People like you don't wake up in a peaceful way. You wake up in the middle of emotional wreckage. You wake up after betrayal, after loss, after breakdowns, after nights where you stared into the dark and thought, I can't live like this anymore. Most people think those are the moments where life ends. Jung saw them as the moments where life finally begins. Because when everything collapses, all your masks go with it. Your fake strength, your borrowed identity, your obedient personality, your survival version of you. They crack first. And beneath all of that, your real self starts to breathe. You may not have recognized it at the time. You may have called it depression, anxiety, spiritual crisis, emotional chaos. But it was something far more precise. It was your soul rejecting a life that was too small for it. Jung once wrote, no tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. He understood something most people deny. If your soul is meant to rise high, your roots will be forced deep. Deep into pain, deep into shadow, deep into trauma and memory and the places inside you that you've been taught to avoid. Most people run from those places. You didn't, or at least, you couldn't, because life refused to let you escape yourself. That's the first unusual sign of a high vibration. You cannot stay unconscious. You cannot stay numb. You cannot play along with a life that doesn't feel real. Other people can. They can work, scroll, drink, gossip, distract themselves into oblivion. They can call it normal. They can call it happiness. But for you, the pretending becomes poisonous. You start to feel sick in environments that don't match your soul. You start to feel anxious around people who are lying to themselves. You start to feel like your spirit is suffocating inside conversations that have no depth, no honesty, no truth. You think you're becoming antisocial. You think you're becoming cold. You're not. You're awakening. Your vibration is slowly pulling you away from what is false and closer to what is real. And this is where the story darkens. Because awakening does not come with instructions. It does not come with comfort. It does not come with a handbook that says, congratulations, you're evolving. Here is what happens next. Instead, it feels like losing everything. You lose interest in the things that once distracted you. You lose tolerance for people who drain you. You lose the ability to ignore your inner voice. You lose the old version of yourself, piece by piece. And in that loss, something strange happens. You begin to hear something under the surface of your own mind. A faint intuition. A whisper that says, this isn't you. This isn't your real life. There's something else waiting. Most people silence that voice. They drown it out with noise. Habits, addictions, other people's expectations. But you didn't. Or at least, you couldn't. Because that whisper didn't vanish. It grew louder. The more you tried to fit in. the more wrong it felt. The more you tried to be normal, the more your body rebelled through anxiety, stress, burnout, emptiness. The more you tried to cling to old relationships, the more they cracked under the weight of what you were becoming. And here's the dangerous part. At this stage, you can still turn back. You can still choose to abandon your soul and go back to sleep. But you didn't. You let life strip you down. You let the truth hurt you. You let your illusions die. And for that, you paid a price. The price was loneliness. Not the loneliness of being physically alone. The loneliness of being psychically distant from almost everyone around you. You would be in a room full of people and feel like you were watching them from underwater. They were close, but not reachable. You could hear them, but not feel them. You sensed that the world they saw was not the world you were seeing. Your world had more layers now. You could feel tension that no one named. You could sense resentment behind polite smiles. You could see how much pain hid underneath. Fine. You noticed how people flinched away from real questions, real emotions, real honesty. You began to realize that almost everyone was performing. Performing strength, performing happiness, performing certainty. But inside, they were terrified. That's the second unusual sign of a high vibration. Your perception becomes dangerous. You don't see just what's happening. You see why. You become emotionally clairvoyant. You feel when someone is lying without needing proof. You feel when someone is using you before they make a move. You feel when a place is wrong for you the moment you walk in. You feel when something bad is coming even hours or days before it happens. You're not paranoid. You're tuned in. Your nervous system becomes an antenna. Your emotions become data. Your intuition becomes a warning system. Most people are blind to what they feel. You are not. You can't be. Your vibration is too high to ignore the signals. But here's what most people don't understand: this kind of awareness is not comfortable. It's not glamorous. It doesn't make you feel superior. Most of the time, it makes you feel tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of feeling everything. Tired of sensing what others hide. Tired of always being the one who sees the storm before it hits. You start asking yourself, why me? Why do I feel so much? Why do I sense so much? Why can't I just live simply like everyone else? And the answer is simple and heavy, because you're not here to live like everyone else. There is something dangerous about you, not in a violent way, not in a destructive way, but in a deeply spiritual way. Your very existence is dangerous to illusions, dangerous to lies, dangerous to mediocrity, dangerous to the version of humanity that wants to stay asleep. You are dangerous because you are evidence that transformation is possible. Your life is proof that trauma doesn't have to be the end. Your eyes are proof that you can walk through hell and come back with heaven inside you. Your presence is proof that someone can be broken and still become chosen. And other people feel that, even if they don't have the language for it. Some will be drawn to you. They'll feel safe around you without knowing why. With you, they'll open up faster than they intended. They'll confess things they've never told anyone. They'll say, I don't know why I'm telling you this. It's because your vibration tells their nervous system. It's okay. You're seen. You're held. You're not judged. Others will react the opposite way. They'll feel exposed near you. Defensive. Irritated. They'll accuse you of thinking too much. Feeling too deeply. Being too intense. Too sensitive. Too serious. They want know how else to say. Your existence forces me to confront parts of myself I've been running from. And instead of facing those parts, they'll distance themselves from you. Please hear this when your vibration rises. Rejection is rarely about your worth. It's about your energy colliding with someone's denial. You are not being pushed away because you are unlovable. You are being pushed away because you are unforgettable. You leave an imprint. You stir something. You wake something. You are not the kind of person people forget. They remember you, whether they want to or not, because you are not just a character in their story. You are a mirror in it. And yet, despite all this, you still doubt yourself. Don't you? You still wonder if you're imagining it, if you're too dramatic, if you're overcomplicating everything. You still question your own intuition. That's another quiet mark of a high vibration humility. You have walked through enough darkness to know you are not above anyone. You know what it feels like to hurt. You know what it feels like to fail. You know what it feels like to be lost. Your awareness doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you compassionate. You don't just see people's behaviors. You see the pain underneath them. You don't just see how they act. You see why they act that way. You see the child inside them, the wounds, the abandonment, the fear, and even when you walk away, you still understand. This is where something beautiful and terrifying happens. You begin to realize that your life has never been random. Every heartbreak carved out space for more depth. Every betrayal sharpened your intuition. Every loss trained you to let go. Every collapse taught you how to rise. You start to see a pattern, a design, a strange, dangerous intelligence behind your suffering. And this is where the story deepens. Because people like you are not just survivors of pain. You are carriers of meaning. You don't just feel. You decode. You don't just remember. You integrate. You turn your wounds into wisdom. Your collapses into clarity. Your loneliness into self-knowledge. And that is why your vibration is different. You don't move like other people. You move slower, more deliberately, more intuitively. You pause before you respond. You feel the energy of a situation before you speak. You choose when to reveal yourself and when to remain a mystery. You're not hiding. You're guarding something sacred. Your energy is not for everyone. Your truth is not for everyone. Your presence is not for everyone. You are not here to be universally understood. You are here to be deeply real. And the more real you become, the more something else begins to awaken in you, a sense of destiny. You may not have the details. You may not know the shape, the date, the form it will take, but you can feel it. A pull toward something more. A pull toward alignment. A pull toward a life that doesn't just look good, but feels true. Most people never reach this feeling. They settle for stories that don't match their soul. They settle for lives that look safe but feel empty. You can't. You're past that point. Whether you like it or not, you have become someone different now. Someone more aware. Someone more sensitive. Someone more intuitive. Someone more chosen. And this is only the beginning. You want to know what happens next. This is the part no one prepares you for. Because once your vibration rises, once you have walked through the dark corridors of your own mind, once you have faced the shadows that most people never name, you come to a door. Not a literal one, an inner one. A place in your life where almost everything you see is a question: who am I now? If I'm not who I used to be, what do I want now? If my old dreams no longer fit, who can walk with me now? If most of my connections were built on who I was before I woke up. This door is choice. Up until now, so much of your awakening felt forced. Life pushed you. Circumstances cornered you. Pain dragged you into consciousness. But now, something different begins. You are no longer just reacting to what is happening. You are deciding what happens. The dangerous thing about becoming conscious is that you can no longer pretend you don't have power. You feel it now. Quiet, steady, built from everything you survived. You're no longer asking, why did this happen to me? You're starting to ask, what am I going to do with what happened to me? This is where your vibration shifts from awakening to creation. Before, your pain chose for you. Your trauma chose for you. Your fear chose for you. Your loneliness chose for you. Now, your awareness steps forward. You begin to see that every pattern in your life was a reflection of what you believed about yourself. You believed you were easy to leave, so you tolerated people who never stayed. You believed you had to earn love, so you overgave to those who undervalued you. You believed you were too much, so you shrank yourself to fit into small spaces. You believed you were not enough, so you chased people and places that confirmed it. Your vibration mirrored your wounds. But something has changed. You don't believe those things anymore. Not fully. You've seen too much, felt too much, grown too much. You've seen moments of your own strength emerge in the middle of your worst nights. You've watched yourself heal from things you thought would haunt you forever. You've supported yourself through storms with no one watching. You've seen the truth: you are not weak. You were never weak. You were conditioned to forget your power. Now you remember it. And remembering changes everything. Slowly, your inner language begins to shift. You stop saying, "I don't deserve better," and start whispering, "I might. I think I might." You stop saying, "This is just how life is," and start wondering, "What if it doesn't have to be?" You stop saying, "I ruin everything," and start seeing how many times you've actually saved yourself. You stop saying, "I'm broken," and begin to understand that you are rebuilt. These are small shifts. No one on the outside can see them, but your vibration responds. Because the universe does not answer your words. It answers your frequency. The moment you begin to hold even a small belief that you are worthy of something truer, something softer, something more aligned, you start to see faint evidence of it. A kind conversation in an unexpected place. A new habit that feels easier than you thought it would. A small boundary that doesn't end in disaster. A choice that once terrified you that now feels possible. The path of the chosen is not a single revelation. It's 1,000 small turnings toward yourself. But let's be honest. Even as you rise, even as you make better choices, even as you start to walk with more clarity, there is a part of you that is still afraid. Afraid to trust good things. Afraid to relax. Afraid to fully let go of old pain in case it comes back again. You know what it's like to be disappointed. You know what it's like to be blindsided. You know what it's like to be abandoned. A part of you wonders, can I really trust this new life I'm building? Can I really trust myself? Can I really trust that I won't fall back into old patterns? This is where the next level of your vibration is forged. Not in pretending you're fearless, but in moving with your fear instead of obeying it. You begin to do things scared. You choose healthier love, even though a part of you still waits for betrayal. You step toward opportunities, even though a part of you still expects failure. You open your heart a little, even though a part of you still flinches from impact. You speak your truth, even though a part of you still expects to be punished for it. And every time you do, something remarkable happens. The old outcome doesn't arrive. The betrayal doesn't come. The punishment doesn't fall. The collapse doesn't repeat. Instead, you survive. You stand. You endure. And slowly, the nervous system that learned to expect disaster starts to recalibrate. This is healing at the deepest level, not just understanding your trauma, but training your body to believe it's different now. I am different now. And as this sinks in, you begin to feel a new kind of safety. Not the safety of controlling everything. Not the safety of never taking risks. Not the safety of staying small. A different safety. The safety of knowing that whatever comes, you will not abandon yourself again. You may cry. You may break for a moment. You may doubt. But you will not leave yourself like you used to. You will not turn against yourself. You will not call yourself weak for feeling. You will not shame yourself for hurting. You have become your own witness, your own guardian, your own quiet protector. This is one of the most powerful signs that your vibration has reached a rare level. You are no longer afraid of your own inner world. Most people run from their thoughts. You sit with yours. Most people drown out their emotions. You let yours speak. Most people deny their patterns. You examine yours like a scientist and a poet. Your mind is no longer an enemy territory. It's a landscape you've mapped. Your shadow is no longer a monster. It's a part of you you've learned to hold. Your pain is no longer a curse. It's a language you've become fluent in. You stop saying, "Why am I like this?" and start asking, "What is this part of me trying to protect?" You stop saying, "I should be over this by now," and start thinking, "Of course this still hurts. Look at what I went through. Let me move with more compassion, not more pressure." You stop forcing yourself to heal quickly so you can perform wellness for the world. Instead, your healing becomes private, sacred, slow. It is no longer a show. It is a relationship between you and your own soul. When that deep inner kindness raises your vibration more than any ritual, any rule, any external practice ever could. Because here's the truth, a high vibration is not a performance. It's not a style. It's not a spiritual aesthetic. It is the natural frequency of a person who has stopped waging war against themselves. The more you stop attacking your own heart, the more your energy stabilizes. The more you stop betraying your own intuition, the more your life organizes itself. The more you stop forcing yourself to be someone you're not, the more love, opportunities, and people who match your true nature begin to appear. And when they do, you finally understand why it had to be this way. You start meeting people who don't feel like strangers. They feel like recognition. People you can be quiet with. People who don't need you to perform. People whose honesty feels like fresh air. People who don't drain you, but soften you. They might not be many. They might arrive slowly. But every time one of them appears, you feel something in your chest say yes. This is my frequency. This is where my soul can rest. These are not coincidences. These are matches. You are no longer attracting from your wounds. You are attracting from your vibration. Your old life brought you people who resonated with your pain. People who mirrored your unhealed parts. People who validated your limiting beliefs. You called it chemistry. You called it fate. You called it passion. But it was familiar trauma calling to itself. Now, your new life brings you people who resonate with your growth. People who mirror your evolution. People who challenge you gently, support you deeply, and see you clearly. There is still passion, but it is not chaos. There is still connection, but it is not possession. There is still intensity, but it is not destruction. Whereas, clean. This is another unusual sign of a high vibration. You become allergic to chaos that pretends to be love. What you once mistook for intensity, you now recognize as dysregulation. What you once called meant to be, you now see as a pattern you were unconsciously repeating. What you once tolerated because you were afraid to be alone, you now walk away from because you refuse to be destroyed. Your standards are no longer rules on a list. They are energetic. If being around someone makes your soul feel like it has to shrink, you leave. If staying in a situation demands you abandon your truth, you go. If a connection feeds on your confusion, you cut the cord. You don't need a big reason. You don't need permission. You feel it, and feeling it is enough. This is where your life becomes dangerous in the most beautiful way. Because a person who is no longer afraid to lose anything that isn't aligned with their soul is a person the world cannot control. You are not held hostage by approval anymore. You are not enslaved by fear of rejection. You are not handcuffed to old identities. You respond less. You react less. You defend less. You explain less. You simply live. Quietly. Deliberately. Consciously. Your existence itself becomes a declaration. I will not betray my soul to belong. I will not abandon my truth to be chosen. I am already chosen by the path I have survived, by the consciousness I have earned, by the vibration I now carry. And that is when something shifts that you can't quite describe. You wake up one morning and you don't feel desperate for the future. For the first time, You are not obsessed with getting somewhere else. You still have goals. You still have dreams. But the panic is gone. In its place, there is trust. Not naive trust. Not blind faith. A grounded, dangerous kind of trust, the kind that comes from knowing you have walked through hell and still found a way to create light. You're no longer asking, will my life ever become what I need it to be? You're starting to ask, how can I honor what my life already is becoming? This is where your vibration reaches a rare frequency. It is not the frequency of a perfect person. It is the frequency of someone who has made peace with their imperfection. You are not trying to erase your story. You're integrating it. You are not trying to become someone else. You are descending fully into who you already are. You are not running from your past. You are standing in front of it, holding its face in your hands, saying thank you for making me dangerous. Thank you for making me chosen. And soon, very soon, your outer life will begin to match this inner truth in ways you cannot yet imagine. But for now, you are here, on the edge of yourself, aware, awake, anchored, and whether you fully believe it or not yet, you have already become someone your old self needed, someone your future self is proud of, someone the world quietly feels and remembers, someone undeniably chosen. Whenever you're ready for the next part, just say you notice it slowly. At first, it's nothing dramatic. No lightning in the sky. No sacred voice calling your name. Just small, almost invisible shifts. You don't react the way you used to. You don't chase the way you used to. You don't collapse the way you used to. Situations that once would have shattered you now only shake you. You still feel the tremor. You still feel the sting. You still feel the ache. But something new has appeared inside you, a center. A place that does not move, even when everything around it is trembling. Maybe it shows up the first time someone speaks to you with disrespect, and instead of explaining yourself into exhaustion, you simply say, "No, this doesn't work for me." And you leave. Your heart is racing. Your mind is screaming. Your body remembers the old fear, the fear of conflict, the fear of disapproval, the fear of being seen as difficult, as ungrateful, as too much. But you stand anyway. And as the moment passes, you feel a strange quiet spreading through your chest. Not pride, not ego, something softer, self-trust. This is how high vibration actually builds itself, not in rituals, not in performances, not in aesthetic spirituality, but in these small, terrifying, holy decisions where you choose your soul over your fear. Every time you do, your energy shifts from fragile to solid. You begin to realize you are not at the mercy of people's moods. You are not at the mercy of their stories about you. You are not at the mercy of how they interpret your boundaries. You were dangerous when you were unconscious. Now you are dangerous with intention, because you no longer depend on others to define your worth. Jung would say this is the moment yourself steps fully into the role of center. Not your ego, not your persona, not your wounds. The deeper, organizing principle of who you are, the part that was there before you were hurt. The part that survived all the hurt. The part that will be there after the hurt has been transformed. You start to feel that part more often now. In the way you speak more honestly. In the way you say, "I don't know," without shame. In the way you admit, "That still hurts," without apologizing. In the way you hold yourself when no one is watching. You used to search for someone to save you. Now, you've become the one person you refuse to abandon. And that changes the way you love. You used to love from hunger. You loved from emptiness, hoping someone would fill it. You loved from fear, hoping someone would stay. You loved from desperation, hoping someone would pick you. Now, you love from overflow. You do not need someone to complete you. You do not need someone to prove you are worthy. You do not need someone to rescue you from yourself. You have already met the most important person in your life, the version of you that walked you through every breakdown and never received credit for it. So when someone new enters your world now, the question is no longer, will they choose me? The question is, does my soul feel safe here? That is the mark of your vibration. Not how loudly you talk about energy. Not how spiritual your language is. Not how mystical your online presence looks. Your vibration shows in what you allow. Can you be yourself here? Can you say no here? Can you slow down here? Can you disagree here? Can you be sad, confused, still healing here? If the answer is no, then the real answer is simple: this is not for you. Your mind will write 1,000 excuses. Your nervous system will panic. Your loneliness will beg. But your vibration will tell the truth. It always does now. Soft reverb. This is where life around you shifts from being random to being reflective. Your relationships become your mirror. With some people, you feel the old familiar pull, the urge to impress, to win, to convince, to earn your place. With others, you feel something softer, something you may not even recognize at first ease. They don't need you to shrink. They don't need you to entertain. They don't need you to pretend. They are not impressed by your mask. They are interested in your reality. Around them, you feel your body loosen, your breathing deepen, your mind quiet a little more. You talk less, and somehow say more. You laugh without performance. You share without strategizing. You admit things without panic. Your soul makes a small note inside: more of this. This is the vibration I belong in. As more of these moments accumulate, the clear nos, the steady yes, the sharp endings, the clean beginnings, you start to notice something else. The chaos outside you no longer matches the calm inside you. There are still problems. There are still bills. There are still difficult days. There are still disappointments. Life doesn't magically become a movie with perfect scenes and a polished soundtrack. But your relationship to those storms changes. They used to define you. Now they reveal you. Before, every bad thing felt like proof that you were cursed, unlucky, forgotten. Now, you feel something different rise in you when things go wrong. Okay, I've survived worse. I know where my center is. I know this will pass. I know I will not abandon myself this time. That's not denial. That is power. You have become one of those dangerous, chosen people that others sense without understanding why. They meet you and feel relaxed and uneasy at the same time. Relaxed because your presence doesn't demand a performance. Uneasy because your presence doesn't tolerate lies. They feel strangely sane. Your eyes don't just look at them, they look into them. Not to judge, to recognize. You recognize the defense mechanisms. You recognize the deflection. You recognize the way they use humor to hide. You recognize the way they over-explain to avoid rejection. You say them because you were them. You've worn those masks. You've spoken from those wounds. You've performed from that emptiness. That's why your perception is so sharp. Your high vibration is not just the light you carry, it's the shadow you've walked through. And here is where something unexpected happens. You stop wanting to fix people. You used to try. You used to stay too long. Give too much. Forgive endlessly. Carry their pain on your back. Explain reality to them as if you could awaken them by force. You confused your sensitivity with responsibility. But now you understand. You can see for them. You can feel for them. You can speak to them. But you cannot choose for them. The moment you try to grow someone who does not want to grow, your vibration drops to meet theirs. And you have fought too hard to rise, to keep lowering yourself as a sacrifice. So you let them be who they choose to be. You love them where they are, or you love them from afar. Either way, you stay loyal to your own path. This is not coldness. This is alignment. You realize that the most loving thing you can do is to live as proof that transformation is possible, not as proof that you will destroy yourself to keep someone comfortable. You are done bleeding to make other people feel safe. You are done proving you are worthy of spaces that are not worthy of you. You are done auditioning. You are here to live. Fully, honestly, dangerously. And as you begin to live like this, as your yes becomes honest, as your no becomes firm, as your boundaries become consistent, something begins to form around you, a different life. It doesn't arrive all at once. It doesn't announce itself. It grows. You notice that you're no longer as drained at the end of the day. You notice that your creative thoughts are returning. You notice that you're curious about new possibilities instead of terrified of them. You notice that you laugh in a way you haven't heard in years, a laugh that feels like it comes from somewhere much younger inside you. You're not healed completely, but you're lighter. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because you stopped carrying what was never truly yours. Soft reverb, the grief of your old self lingers. There are moments when you miss who you were before you knew so much, before you saw through people, before you read between every line, before every room felt like an energetic map, before every conversation felt like a pattern analysis. There is a cost to this level of awareness. You are not naive anymore. You cannot unknow what you know. You cannot unfeel what you feel. You cannot go back to a time when ignorance was protection. And some nights, you ache for that simplicity. But then you remember that innocence was never real. It was the numbness of a soul still asleep in its own story. You're not asleep anymore. You're awake. And even on your hardest days, you know this, you would rather live as a dangerous, chosen soul in the full weight of truth than as a comfortable stranger to your own existence. This is where destiny begins to move. Not as a sudden miracle, but as an ongoing alignment. Little by little, you step into work that feels less like survival and more like expression. Little by little, you step into environments that feel less like war and more like resonance. Little by little, you meet people who feel less like tests and more like answers. You start to feel something you may have never felt before, a future that doesn't scare you. You don't know the details. You don't know how it will unfold, but you feel a subtle assurance. Like a quiet voice saying you didn't go through all of that for nothing. You survived nights that should have broken you. You endured seasons where you had no one but yourself. You saw the worst in people and still kept your heart alive. You lost versions of yourself that you thought you couldn't live without. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still listening, still evolving, still willing to be honest with yourself. That willingness alone is proof that you are not ordinary. You are not here to repeat the same pain until you die. You are here to interrupt it. You are here to be the place where old patterns end. You are here to be the point in your bloodline where unconsciousness stops winning. That is what makes you chosen. Not that life is easier for you. In fact, it has probably been harder. But when life tried to bury you, you used the dirt to grow deeper roots. When life tried to close your heart, you chose to feel anyway. When life tried to convince you that you are powerless, you learned to create reality from your vibration. You are not fragile. You are not too sensitive. You are not cursed. You are aware. You are dangerous. You are chosen. And your story is not over. This is the haunting beauty of awakening, even when you think you are done evolving. Even when you feel like you have reached your limit. Your soul always knows there is another layer, another depth of peace, another level of purpose, another form of expression, another kind of love, another version of you that is waiting to be born. Not because who you are now is not enough, but because consciousness is never finished. You are a living process, a moving prayer, A quiet revolution against everything that wanted you numb. You may not see it yet, but the way you exist now, the choices you make, the boundaries you hold, the love you give without losing yourself, these are not small things. They are echoes. Echoes that travel into other people's lives. Echoes that reach younger versions of you. In different bodies. In different places. Who are still lost in their own darkness. When they meet you, they won't know why. But something in them will say, if they can be like this, maybe I can too. And just like that, you're dangerous. Chosen vibration will do what it was always meant to do. Not just save you, but awaken others. You start noticing it in the smallest of moments. The way your breathing changes when you tell yourself the truth. The way your body relaxes when you walk away from what doesn't feel right. The way your mind calms down when you stop forcing what keeps falling apart. These are not minor details. They are proof that your inner world is no longer ruled by fear. Something else has taken the throne. Awareness, self-respect, alignment. Your vibration has changed so much that even your silence means something different now. There was a time when your silence meant suppression. You swallowed the words. You hid the truth. You kept everything inside because you were terrified of what would happen if you spoke. Now your silence means choice. You don't respond to every provocation. You don't defend yourself in every argument. You don't explain your decisions to people committed to misunderstanding you. You've realized that energy is a form of speech. Who you give it to is what you are saying. Yes, to, and you're done saying yes to anything that kills you slowly. This is not bitterness. It's precision. Your life has become too precious to hand out in pieces just to prove you're kind. You can be kind without being consumed. You can be loving without being used. You can be giving without being emptied. That's the difference now. You no longer sacrifice yourself on altars that don't deserve you. You are not cruel. You are not cold. You are finally fair to yourself. People feel this shift even before they understand it. Some will rise to meet you. They'll start treating you with more care. They'll think twice before speaking from their wounds. They'll step up. They'll correct themselves. They'll ask, does this feel okay for you? In ways they never used to. Your vibration teaches them. Without a lecture. What your soul will and will not accept. Others will fall away. They'll call you distant, selfish, changed. Say you're right. You have changed. You've become dangerous to their old access to you. Dangerous to the way they used to drain you without consequence. Dangerous to any dynamic that relied on your self-abandonment. You're not dangerous because you hurt people. You're dangerous because you no longer allow people to hurt you and stay. That is the quiet revolution of a high vibration. It doesn't always come with announcements and declarations. Often it comes with simple acts of self-honesty. I don't like who I become in this space. I feel small when I'm with this person. My body tightens every time I agree to that. I'm tired of shrinking just to keep the peace. And then the most dangerous thing you can do in this world, you listen. You don't gaslight yourself. You don't override the feeling. You don't drown it in distractions. You hear your own soul. And you respond. That response doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's just answering less. Sharing less. Showing up less. Letting a dynamic fade instead of resuscitating it yet again. Sometimes it's unsubscribing from people's chaos. Not storming out, just slowly. Quietly. Reclaiming your space. Sometimes it's telling yourself, I don't need closure. I need freedom. And then choosing the life that gives you air. These are not small acts. They are the architecture of a new reality. Every time you honor your energy, your vibration strengthens its new position. You begin to feel something strange. You're not just surviving anymore. There are moments, small, fleeting at first, where you realize I feel okay, safe, or even here. Right now, in this moment, I don't feel chased. You're not waiting for disaster in every silence. You're not bracing for betrayal in every connection. You're not scanning every room for danger like you used to. It's not that life has stopped being unpredictable. It's that you have stopped being permanently unanchored. Your nervous system, once wired for constant threat, is slowly learning another state relief. People don't talk about this enough. They show you trauma. They show you breakthrough. But they don't show you the long, quiet middle, the months and years where you are learning how to feel safe in a world that once never felt safe at all. Safety doesn't arrive like a switch. It arrives like a sunrise. Gradually, softly, almost imperceptibly. One day, you simply realize you don't hate yourself the way you used to. You don't abandon yourself as quickly as you used to. You don't sabotage every good thing by assuming it must be fake. Your inner voice is less of an enemy, more of a companion. You're not at war with your own mind. That is a miracle. It's here, in this quiet integration phase, that another layer of your path begins to reveal itself. Up until now, your transformation has been about you, your pain, your healing, your boundaries, your life. But slowly, something else begins to stir, a sense that your story might not be just for you. You find yourself comforting people with words you needed to hear years ago. You find yourself recognizing patterns in others and gently naming what you would have given anything for someone to name in you. You find yourself drawn to conversations that go deeper, to spaces where honesty is allowed, to roles where your sensitivity is not a burden but a gift. It's as though the universe is quietly nudging you. Do you see? What almost destroyed you has become medicine in your hands. This doesn't mean you have to become a healer, a therapist, a coach, or anything official. It means your very existence now carries a frequency that gives other people permission to question their own cages. You show, just by being, that you can be sensitive and strong, open-hearted and boundaried, gentle and dangerous at the same time. Dangerous to what? To everything that keeps people asleep. There is a reason certain people feel nervous around you. It's not because you're cruel. It's because your life is living proof that their excuses are not the end. You've walked through pain they use as a permanent identity. But you didn't stop there. You turned it into a doorway. So when they stand in front of you, a part of them knows if they step through, I could too. And if I can, then staying as I am is no longer just fate. It's a choice. That realization is terrifying for someone not ready to move. So instead of facing it, they may project onto you. They'll say you're dramatic, too intense, too deep, overthinking everything. But that's okay, because on some level, they also know you are chosen in a way that they are not ready to be yet. Not chosen by some external force. Chosen by your own willingness to evolve. Chosen is not a title. It's a responsibility. To keep growing even when it would be easier to stay the same. To keep feeling even when it would be easier to shut down. To keep telling yourself the truth even when lying to yourself would allow you to belong in more places. To keep honoring your vibration even when it means walking a path with far fewer footsteps beside you. It's romantic to say you're chosen. It's another thing to live it. You have, day after day, choice after choice, breakdown after breakdown. You kept walking, and now, you stand somewhere where you're not who you were. You're not yet everything you will be. But you are real. You're not hiding behind a persona. You're not performing a role. You're not reciting lines written by society, family, or fear. You're speaking from somewhere deeper. From that place, you start to ask different questions. What kind of world do I want to contribute to? What kind of energy do I want to leave behind when I leave a room? How do I want people to feel after they've interacted with me? You used to want to be impressive. Now you want to be honest. You used to want to be admired. Now you want to be true. You used to want to be chosen by others. Now you want to live in a way that proves you have chosen yourself. This is where your high vibration stops being only about personal healing and starts becoming about presence. You may not change the whole world. You're not meant to. But you will change the world of the people who truly encounter you. Maybe it's a stranger who hears you say something real, and for the first time realizes they are not insane for feeling what they feel. Maybe it's a friend whose life quietly rises to match your standard of honesty. Maybe it's a partner who, in being loved by you, must learn how to meet you at the level of depth you now require. Maybe it's a younger version of you in someone else's body who sees that surviving is not the end of the story. This is how dangerous souls move, not always loudly, but with a frequency that keeps echoing. And yet, for all this expansion, for all this meaning, for all this connection, there is something you must never forget: you are still human. You will still have days when you doubt everything, nights when the old loneliness comes back, moments when your old wounds flare up and you react in ways you thought you were. This does not mean you have failed. It means you're alive. Healing did not turn you into a machine. Awakening did not erase your sensitivity. High vibration did not make you less human. If anything, it made you more human than ever. More feeling, more aware, more honest. The difference now is not that you never fall. The difference is that when you fall, you don't abandon yourself there. You don't spiral into the old story. See, I knew I wasn't really healed. I knew I wasn't really chosen. I knew I was pretending all along. Instead, you meet yourself in the fall. You say, of course this still hurts. Of course this still scares me. Of course this still triggers something deep in me. But I am not who I was last time this happened. This time, I have tools. This time, I have awareness. This time, I have proof that I can survive myself. You give yourself what no one gave you when you needed it most: understanding instead of judgment, compassion instead of disgust, patience instead of pressure. This is what really makes your vibration so rare. Not how high your energy spikes when you're excited, but how gently you hold it when you're low. The world is full of people chasing the high of spiritual experiences, but unable to sit with their own shadow. You've sat with your shadow so long that it no longer terrifies you. You know there is a dangerous side to you, a side that can destroy your life if it runs you unconsciously. You don't deny it. You don't glorify it. You work with it. You listen when it speaks. You see what it's trying to protect. You stop letting it drive. But you also stop locking it in the basement. Integration, not exile. That's what chosen souls do with their darkness. They don't turn it into a weapon. They turn it into depth. So here you are. After everything you've lived. After everything you've lost. After everything you've rebuilt. You may not see yourself as special. You may not feel remarkable. You may not feel like some enlightened being. But look at the evidence: you are more conscious than you were. More anchored than you were. More honest than you were. More loving, in a truer way, than you were. You carry pain, but pain no longer carries you. You carry memory, but memory no longer dictates your fate. You carry sensitivity, but sensitivity no longer gets to choose people who hurt you. You are living proof that a human being can go through dangerous levels of suffering and still become someone worth trusting. If that is not chosen, what is? You want a final truth. Here it is. You were never meant to fit comfortably into this world. That ache you've always felt, that restless hum in your chest, that sense that something about all of this felt off, it wasn't a flaw. It was the signal that you were here to remember more than you were taught, to feel deeper than you were allowed, to rise higher than you were modeled. You were not meant to blend in. You were meant to become. To become the one in your lineage who refuses to hand the same wound to the next generation. To become the one in your circle who proves that healing is not just a story. To become the one in your own life who finally looks in the mirror and says, I know who I am now. I'm not perfect, but I am present. I am awake. I am dangerous to everything that wanted me numb. I am chosen by everything I have survived and everything I am still becoming. Now, breathe. You already know what comes next. If this message found you at the right moment, subscribe for the next awakening.